John Krakauer's book, Under the Banner of Heaven. Krakauer's a great writer. So this book, he starts to investigate the murder of this polygamous family in Utah. Just as a journalist, he's going to do a story. This takes him down the path of this incredible world of polygamy, which still goes on. It's not legal, but they marry one, and then the others are so-called sister wives, and they're just there. And they live in these border towns along the border between Colorado and Utah. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. You go into this town, and it feels kind of weird here. So Krakauer discovered this whole world of, going all the way back to, what's his name, Joseph Smith, and, he gets this revelation from God that basically he's banging the woman down the street. He's married. And so he gets this revelation from God, and Krakauer has this scenario in the book where he tells his wife, now, honey, I've been talking to God, and you're not going to believe this, but he says I have to marry this, so-and-so down the street. She's like, oh, yeah? Well, I have to start seeing other guys. No, God was very specific about this. It's just for the guys. How do I know you talked to God? Well, my buddies, they were there. They heard it also. And this is the first page of the Book of Mormon is an affidavit. These are the people that heard the revelation, and they all sign it, and it's like, okay, so this is how it starts.
Well, when Joseph Smith started it all off in 1820, he was only 14.
Right.
Name me a 14-year-old that's not a liar.
That's right.
They just learn how to lie. It's
Right.
not even like that they're bad people. When you're 14 years old, you are a developing entity.
Right.
You're, like your frontal lobe's not fully formed. You don't really know what you're practicing sentences. You know what you're doing, trying to exert your influence. And this guy was just very creative.
He was, and he got chased out of Palmyra in New York is where he started. And then he moved to Missouri when basically he was in trouble with the law and other issues. And then he got in trouble there and he was killed. Usually this ends a cult when the leader dies. It was Brigham Young that turned this little cult into a world religion. And they just went further west to Utah to get away from federal authorities.
Well, the Mormons are fascinating to me because they do seem goofy when you look at the idea that Joseph Smith, who was a 14-year-old, found golden tablets that contained the lost work of Jesus, and only he could read them because he had a magic seer stone.
Right.
And then when the local townspeople came to see, well, where are these stones? Oh, the angels came and took them away because you
Right.
did not believe. Like, it's so preposterous. But Mormons are really nice people.
Totally nice.
They are the
Yes.
best cult.
Yes.
They're the sweetest, nicest people.
Well, I think they've made the transition from cult to
religion,
to a religious sect.
Yes.
And most Christians no longer consider them a cult. Some evangelicals do because they're pretty far out, but most mainstream Christians say, yeah, they're Christians. I mean, they accept Jesus as their
Right,
savior,
right.
and that technically that gets you in the club.
They just
So,
got to let all that Joseph Smith stuff go.
Yeah.
Because the way they treat people is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of them going to these poor countries and proselytizing and, getting these vulnerable people to become a part. But the way they deal with community and the way they deal with each other, it's like it's a very warm and friendly and family environment. And most of the Mormons that I've met that are practicing have been very nice people.
Yeah, and they're serious about their tithing and the 10%. I mean, they have strict rules about this, like capital gains. It's equivalent to capital gains. So if you sell your house and make a profit, you got to give 10% of that to church, not just your income, not just your paycheck. They're pretty strict about that. And the money, as far as I know, mostly goes for good causes that really does help poor people.